Welcome to the Dreamboat. This is where we explore everything to do with dreams.
We are sponsored by the DRI Centre for Dream Studies, and you can find out more about our work in the show notes.
You can join us here every fortnight or at one of our dream courses, workshops, or retreats. Thank you for coming on board.
Lucid dreaming is often seen as the nirvana of the dream world. In fact, here at the DRI, we teach groups how to dream lucidly, which means basically you're asleep, but you're able to control the dream world as if you were awake. So devotees talk of flying, meeting up with lucid dreamers. Some will even talk about having sex. So there you go. It's a very exciting state to be in. Anyway, more importantly, not much is really known about the phenomenon. But that is about to change with several Brainwave apps now coming onto the market, including that of my guest this week, CQ from Enchanted Wave. Welcome, CQ. Lovely to have you on board.
Thank you, Laura. Nice to meet you too.
This is exciting. And I know there are more and more, not just apps, but wearable devices that are claiming that they can track dreams. Just tell me a bit more about Enchanted Wave. How does it work? I understand it's a headband that you wear when you're asleep, but just tell me a bit more about it.
Sure. The Enchanted Wave wearable EEG headband was originally designed for sleep research. So we started around year 2018. At the time, I was working with a professor at local university. She is currently the head of neuroscience and psychology in her university. And we were classmates back in graduate school in neuroscience. So she saw my prototype making still very rudimentary with the wires hanging out. But she said to me, okay, I can use this for my research. She was focused on sleep, a lot different perspectives of sleep. So I then made a more product-like prototype. And she started to use that for her sleep study. And we did a correlation validation against PSG, which is the gold standard of sleep study. And the outcome was very, very good. So from then, she and her several colleagues in psychology and neuroscience started using my device for all sorts of cognitive studies, sports, mental wellness, etc. But I had a personal interest in lucid dreaming. It was triggered by the movie Inception many, many years ago.
Yeah, it's inspired a lot of people.
I know, yeah. But funny enough, because my education was mostly on neuroscience, I didn't believe it at the beginning. But after reading some, interesting articles, I had a very pleasant incident of, lucid dreaming naturally. I didn't, do any of the method to train or something. But after that, I believe, okay, that is a true phenomenon. It's not something people made up. So I started to look more into the scientific publications. I think they are more trustworthy than YouTubers. I'm not saying YouTubers are wrong, but published peer-reviewed publication usually have more reliability than the other sources. So I collect some of the lucid dream induction protocols and add it as a protocol into my mobile app. And we also started a Reddit group that people from different part of the world trying them automatic because the protocol have been pre-programmed into the app, so people do not need to remember what to do for each one, and then they can follow the instruction, and the audio or even visual cues could be triggered based on the sleep stage.
So tell me, let's just back up a little bit because, yeah, I get it. So if I was going to wear one tonight, I would basically put on what looks like a headband, I presume. And then what does it actually measure? What is it doing?
It measures a brain wave in simple terms. In scientific terms, it's the EEG electroencephalograph. So it's basically electric activities from the brain. So the neurons works with electricity, and when you sleep, they fire in groups in large synchronized activities. People usually hear, about alpha, beta, theta, those kind of things. And those signals are very important to track sleep stage and sleep dynamics in real time. So our device can track the sleep dynamics, not only the stage, because stage is just 1, 2, 3, 4, or REM. But the sleep depth and the minute, actually the seconds that you enter a dream, we can detect.
Oh, really? So what would you see when you're detecting a dream? How would that appear on an ECG? What would happen?
Your brain, when you enter a dream, your brain will be more active than your regular no dream sleeping. So the beta band in charge of emotion, and a gamma band in charge of high level cognitive activities will have a higher power. So on the EEG power spectrum, you will see the beta band and the gamma band light up much more. So from that, you can also, you heard the term REM, REM, rapid eye movement. So you can see occasionally the eye movements from the EEG signal as well. So by combining the high cognitive activity and also the eye movement detected, we can tell this person is in dream. And also we can tell it's entering the dream, vivid visual manifest contents in the dream, or exiting the dream very soon, something like that.
How can you tell when it's slipped into lucidity, or is it that you see someone's dreaming and the band, then you call it lucid induction? The band, what does it do to perhaps make the dream more lucid?
Okay, there were many similar wearable approaches in the market claiming they can trigger lucidity. And during the research phase, we tried maybe not all of them, but most of them. And the finding is none of them can reliable trigger lucidity. So, there's many reasons we investigated. So at the end, you were not trying to provide this headband as a trigger device. Rather, we have a collection of the effective method programmed in the headband. So different users, they can try out different method from the headband, and then they can find out which one can work for them, because it's very personal dependent.
So give me an example. When you say different methods, what type of methods are we talking about? We're talking about noise. What's happening?
For example, many people know a wake-induced or wake-initiated lucid dream. So when you try to fall asleep, you have a anchor using a finger tapping or imaginary finger tapping, or having some sustaining ideas in the mind. So that's one of the common or popular method, and we have that built in as an example. And there's also another popular or high successful rate method called senses-induced lucid dreaming. So when you are after the 5-hour sleep, wake back to bed, when you try to fall back to sleep, your original method before we built the app was having a sound cue and then a visual. You're focused on the visual of your behind your eyes, and you're focused on tactile sensation of your finger. So you rotate several rounds, and then slightly when you enter the dream, those sensations or those neural activity actually keep you somehow semi-awake. that can help you trigger lucidity with a good successful rate. So instead of imagining all that or keeping your mind going through all the cycles, our app actually provide a sound cue and then a visual cue and a vibration from the phone. They rotate with the same pattern, the same timing that was provided in the technique.
Okay, so let's just back up again. So from what I can make out, you have an app on your phone or iPad or tablet or whatever. And so if you've got a sound that you've trained yourself that when you hear that sound, you become lucid during a dream, you would program that into the app. Or if you have something visual, because I know, for instance, a lot of people do hand studying. So they'll look at their hands during the day when they're awake. And then when they see their hand in the dream, it's the trigger to remind them that they are lucid dreaming rather than just dreaming. And so somehow or other, the app correlates with that. How does that quite work? I can understand sound, but I don't know how I understand the visual parts, the visual prompts.
Okay. If you put the phone next to your pillow with the screen facing up, and when the rotating of the stimulation, the sound is just playing a ding sound or a sound that you choose, and the phone screen flicker a white light or a color light, and into the room. It can be a visual cue. So even if your eyes are closed, the flickering of a screen can be perceived by even with your eyes closed. And then the vibration of the phone providing a sensational information. So the three rotating each other several rounds when you're trying to fall asleep will keep you semi-awake and help you enter a lucid state. It's not guaranteed. It's still a person-to-person. There's a lot of a person-to-person variation, but this is one of the methods. And those two are mentioned. I mentioned just now. They are those protocols place before you fall asleep, and also we have sound cues or visual cues that can play in the middle of your dream. Some people find that is more helpful, and other people find the other method more helpful.
I suppose, I know that a lot of lucid dreamers all have their own preferred routes in. And as you say, different people like different stimuli to get into the lucid state. With the headband, how does that then know when you're dreaming so it kicks off the lucid signals? Is that what happens?
The headband only measures the brainwave and then sends the signal to the cell phone, and cell phone does all the calculation, the sleep dynamics, and then provide the sound cue, the visual cue, or the vibration cues.
The Dreamboat is a project of the DRI Center for Dream Studies. If you're the kind of person who is fascinated by the mystery of dreams and you want to learn more about the transformational power of dream work, check out our workshops, lectures, retreats, and training courses at driccpe.org.uk. Also on the website, you can support the podcast and all of DRI's work by becoming a member for just over £30 a year. That gets you discounts and first access for our ticketed events, as well as access to videos and extra material online. That's driccpe.org.uk, and you can find the link in the show notes. Now back to the podcast.
Looking at some of the results of this, have you noticed that when someone's lucid dreaming, is it a different wavelength? Is it not beta or alpha or gamma or whatever? Do lucid dreamers operate on a different wave of some kind?
That's a very good question. According to some research, if you study an individual person lucid compared to himself not lucid, there could be statistical significant findings in the EEG. However, if you blend in a group of people or a large population, that finding is not statistically significant enough. So it's not something a commercial product can claim as a reliable signal to tell, okay, you're lucid. As a, product developer, I cannot say anyone at this technology time, they can do it. However, for research, there are many findings for, if you compare within the person, it's possible. But on top of that, I'm sure you heard of the very well-known experiment using the eye left, right in the dream to signal the outside world. So with our headband, that is actually feasible for people to do it at home. So if you are in the lucid state and in the dream world, if you look left, right, and your eyes are very likely to roll left, right, accordingly. So our headband can detect that and use that as a lucid state confirmation and to signal the app, and the app can record it and as a two-way communication or as a confirmation of the lucidity.
Wow. And so what does that give a lucid dreamer out of interest? How does that help improve lucidity, would you say?
For regular lucid dreamers, I'm sure there are applications they can use, but our focus is still a little bit more on the research side. For example, the current collaborator, Dr. Sparrow, they were using this to time their different portions of their lucid dream. For some study, during a lucid dream, for some contents, they can use this eye signal to mark out the transition between two different phases in their study.
Yeah, interesting. So, how do you see the Enchanted Wave developing? What's your dreams for this? Boom. Where do you see it going?
Well, Enchanted Wave has been a research tool on the market for 8 years. So we are, consistently serving, I'll say mostly research population, universities, institution for all sorts of cognitive studies. For the dream part, since that's also my hobby, my interest, I would like to try to help all the dreamers or dream explorers to fulfill their interest, their application as well. So if you or the dreamer come out to me and say we need this, we'll be very happy to supply some function to support.
Yeah. And also just the increase in research potential. Who owns, if I had one, and obviously I presume it's the app on my phone that would be recording the data. Who owns the data? Where, who's behind Enchanted Wave? What happens with the data? Because I think a lot of people might be a bit nervous about that.
I know. This is a very common concern. Since at the beginning, we were, I have been working with research population all the time. So the data privacy is a very, very high priority. So the data will transfer from the phone to the user directly. It doesn't come to our cloud. It's not saved anywhere except on the user's phone and the user's email.
Yeah.
So it's 100% private to the user or the researcher.
And so if they want to send it on to you, that is then their choice. Is that what you're saying? So if you've had some interesting, say, let's use the lucid state, you've had a lot of lucid dreaming and you're quite keen to join the research program, it's your choice if you send the data or not. Is that what you mean?
Well, the user can send the data to their own email, and if they would like to collaborate with some dream researchers, we have connections. We can group them together, and they can share the data with the researcher of their choice. But that's not our, it's not Enchanted Wave behavior. It's another lab. Yeah.
So tell me about Enchanted Wave. Is it your business? How did it sort of initially come about?
Me and the professor, we started this company together. The professor who was doing the sleep study. Yeah.
Okay, wow. And have you had investors that are intrigued by it from not necessarily the dream world, but the sports world who have invested in it?
Yeah, we have some investors. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so where do you see it going? How is this going to develop for you, would you say?
Well, our interest is more, my personal interest is trying to accelerate the neuroscience study, because when I was in graduate school, the neuroscience development, research was going very, very slow because the tools, have to call the participant come into the lab and hook up the participant with a hat with all the
Exactly.
wires. Yeah, it takes 1 hour or even more to set up one participant. And then
you're asking someone to dream wearing this hat.
I know, yeah. It's just, you have, one sleep lab, one person at a time, and you have to make appointment and all that. It's very, very, tedious. So if they have this headband and the people can use them to collect data at home, they can do like 10 at least for each day. And with that speed, the research can go a lot faster. So my goal was serving this as a tool to help the researchers to speed up their study.
Yeah. And in terms of where its impact on the dream world and lucidity, where do you see bands like Enchanted Wave taking dreaming?
Well, I believe a lot of dreamers or dream explorers, they were using a lot of tech method, and this one provide them a much more scientific way to study their dreams. So on our app, we have the data, and in our website, we have a knowledge base they can see to understand the data they collect on the phone. Most people, they do not have a strong background on EEG or how to understand the brainwave data on the phone. But on our website, we have educational sessions. And they can, by looking at the material, they can look at their phone and understand their own data. Or if they want to go further, to submit their data with some sleep dream researchers, we have groups we can direct them to link up to.
Yeah, it's exciting. Do you ever see a time, I know a few people have claimed it, but I'm never too sure. Do you ever see a time where machines like this would actually record your dreams and not just do the waves and show you that you're dreaming, but actually, be able to pick apart some of the imagery? Do you ever see that coming to fruition?
It's scientifically possible in probably 10 years, I would say.
Oh, as quickly as that. Wow.
Well, scientifically, I'm not saying commercially. Yeah, because the recording first of all, you have to be able to interpret a dream. So the sensors has to be precise enough to get the signal from any specific area of the brain. And then they consolidate the data and using AI, etc., to come up with the content of the dream. I have read studies about this. There are people starting doing this and using the data when they are awake to match up the data that's in the dream. So roughly they can match up, but the current technology of measuring is not, the time resolution and the spatial resolution are not good enough. So I say in 10 years, I think that the measuring technology can catch up, and then the dream interpretation would become possible.
Wow. It seems quite incredible, but, as you say, a lot of people are experimenting with the correlation between the two. It's going to be fascinating how quickly that comes about, because I think for a lot of people, it would completely change their dream life if they could access chunks of the dreaming, if it has actually recorded it. Because a lot of people know they dream, but they just, we've done several episodes on it. How do you remember your dreams? There are techniques, but also we have done episodes on how to lucid dream. So this is what makes Enchanted Wave very interesting for people who perhaps haven't experienced a lucid dream and would like to develop that as a technique. This has great potential, I'm presuming.
Yeah, but I do also want to mention there's a lot of hypes in the market saying, claiming, we can trigger lucid dream, blah, blah, blah. I just want to give the users or potential users a very subjective, or scientific suggestion, because among all the published serious peer-reviewed publications, the rate of successfully induced lucid dream with all kinds of methods are still not very high. The highest I have read probably around 30-40%, regardless what methods you use. And there's a big person-to-person variability. And we have found some trend on which type of people are more likely to success, or what type of people are less likely to success from the data we have seen.
Wow, that's really interesting. So what type of people have more success lucid dreaming? That's really interesting.
Well, that's a long story again. Okay, let me try to. All right, one of the important ones is the back to bed, the wake back to bed techniques, one of the most popular technique, and is a lot of people using it as a successful. However, for that to work, the person has to be able to fall back to sleep after waking up. So if someone's a poor sleeper, and they after 5 hours sleep, and they will not be able to fall back to sleep for the whole night. So for that group of people, this could be very, very challenging and disrupting for their sleep quality. So that's one factor that you want to consider. Also, for the people who were using cues, visual or audio, during the sleep, there's a very interesting phenomenon because there are two auditory pathways that goes into your brain. One is to hear, and the other one is to raise the mental arousal. So you will wake up. So some people have the pathway built in; they can hear without immediately waking up. But there are many people who they will wake up before they can hear it. So there are a lot of interesting things we observe in our data. Yeah, those are the most popular or easier to understand things that I can share.
Wow. I mean, I am quite fascinated. I do lucid dream, but it's not something that I've sort of become obsessed about, because I obviously for a lot of lucid dreamers it becomes quite an obsessive thing. And I sometimes just like to go to sleep and sleep for the rest of it, so that one gets a rest. But I think if you're looking to experiment with lucid dreaming, this sounds incredibly exciting, CQ. If somebody wants to get hold of an Enchanted Wave band, how do they go about it? Do they come to you direct?
They can just go to our website, and if they want to learn more, we have topics on the website talking about them. And if they want to use the headband, it's very affordable. And if they want to talk about the general practice, I think the researchers in lucid dream has a better could provide better opinions than me.
Yeah. Well, I know a couple of people, Ryan Hurd, for instance, who has been on our podcast before. And it was Ryan, actually, that told me about it. He's really putting it through his paces. And I'm sure at the DRI, we'd like to do the same with our lucid dreaming groups. But that's possibly a separate conversations, CQ. When you say that it's affordable, roughly how much are the headbands?
The current listing price is at $289. US dollar, yeah.
Okay.
And for the lucid dreamer, we actually have a extra gift, a wristband for a reality check.
Oh yeah, the old pinging elastic band technique. Yeah.
So it's, the wristband says, "Is this a dream?" So yeah.
Oh, it actually says it to you, does it?
Yeah.
Oh,
it says it on the wristband. Also in the app, we also built in a reality check protocol as well. So when you press one of the buttons in the app, it plays a song, plays a question: "Is this a dream?" So that helps this is one of the common practice for the lucid dream training. So if people want to do that, and that one doesn't require the headband, they can just use it for a routine, rehearsal of the reality check.
Yeah. Do you want to just explain that to the audience, what the elastic band reality check was about?
A lot of people using a anchor in the real world. So when they look at the wristband, for example, the wristband has the sentence, "Is this a dream?" So if in the real world you look at it again, it says the same thing. But in the dream, your brain power is very limited. So if you read any written things twice, your brain is not very likely to reproduce exactly the same thing. Or even your brain is basically producing it and perceiving it at the same time. So it's very challenging. So in the dream, if you look at a wristband, it will probably say something else. Or if you look at it twice, it will say something else.
But then that you're lucid dreaming and not in the, that's part of the reality check, isn't it? Because if the band says something else, there's a good chance that you're lucid dreaming at that point.
Yeah,
it's the theory, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I'm glad that you've got one of those because they're very popular, and we often joke about them because I think early lucid dreamers used to flick the band on their wrists to make sure that they were awake as well. And so, yeah. Very good. Well, CQ, many thanks. Really fascinating, and I look forward to hearing more about how this works out for you. And I'm sure at the DRI, we'd love to put it through its paces. I'm sure a lot of our lucid dreaming groups would probably enjoy having extra stimulation to help them lucid dream better. And so we'll have to have you back on to find out more about how it's going and what type of research you're getting back. But for now, CQ, many thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for inviting me. And for the dreamers, for the lucid dreamers, or people interested in explore the dream, I really hope they have better, outcome. And remember, doing this with the science will make them much more in a much better position than trying out all the, sources from unknown places.
There's so many techniques out there, aren't there?
Yeah.
I mean, this might have sort of obviously work more efficiently is your quest. So for anyone listening, we'll obviously put details of how to get hold of or read more about Enchanted Wave in the show notes. So they'll be in the show notes at the bottom of this. CQ, many thanks. See you soon.
Thank you, Laura.
So, thank you for joining us for this week's episode. Don't forget to like us and leave comments on your favourite podcast platform. As I'm sure you know, that's the way we build an audience for the Dreamboat podcast and also to spread news about dreaming. And as we said, there are many ways you can share your dreams at the DRI, the Dream Research Institute.
Yes, we have courses, events, and workshops, and we want to hear from you. So check out the show notes for links, or find us on Instagram and on our Facebook page and on our website at driccpe.org.uk. And if you want to explore your dreams further, or you would like to support us, you can join the DRI as a member for just £30 a year. As a member, you will get discounts for all of our events and short courses. You'll get our newsletter with latest dream research news, and we'll also be adding other special member benefits during the year. Of course, members' dreams will always be given preference for reading on the podcast Dream of the Week slot. So go to the link on the show notes and become a DRI member today. Keep dreaming and keep sharing your dreams.